Hello and welcome to session 8 of my Not Your Average Bible Studies. My name is Allie with Amory Speaks, and this is hopefully coming through loud and clear, and hopefully the background sounds all right as well. Recording lack of a microphone and just using this laptop. So, please excuse if it sounds different or the quality isn't as well. But I'm happy to see that I can at least record, so I don't even care really. Just wanted to get things going, mostly here on a Sunday morning. Today is January 19th, 2025, and I'll be picking up where we left off. I have chapter 6 in Matthew. I want to just say straight off the bat, in case anyone is new, thanks so much for clicking and checking out my videos and my channel. This is sort of not my main avenue of content. This is a new discovery for me, the first time I'm ever reading this New Testament. I'm not a traditional religious person. I wasn't raised that way, and I'm, not a regular old Christian or whatever, reading this, and I like to think of myself as part Christian, although I don't think, you're allowed to say that, but I think I am metaphysical Christian, so to speak, and I'm looking at this from a metaphysical perspective, seeking the truths that are underlying in the content for all, regardless of background, ethnicity, where in time on the world you are, or in history you've been, I think all, even quote-unquote real true Christians, would have to agree that Jesus is there for everyone, and no matter who across the world, if they know of him and are introduced to him and accept him into their heart, I think that he takes everybody, right? Is supposed to be the line of their beliefs. So with that said, I have no offense meant, and I'm trying to come at this both as a humble new student and also as an aware, conscious thinker in my life and on my journey. When I pull back out of this sort of narrowed in focus of, traditional religious dogmas and such. So with that kind of forefront put there, most have clicked away by now, probably, who are not interested in what I have to offer, in case they're new. And if you're not new, thank you so much for sticking through and listening to the preamble and the ramble. Let's get going on what we came here to do, right? Which is to read and discuss. For me to read and discuss. And thank you so much for listening and for your audience and energies while I make my way through such enlightening teachings here. I won't backtrack too much about chapter 5 or anything, but there's, verbatim teachings here. It's Jesus' words and he's speaking, and I just find that he's such a master of energetic exchanges and service and systems. I hear my own, and perhaps because I hear through my own ears, right? My teachings are for me, and I'm meant to have this sort of light angled in the ways that it prismatically enters my world. And so, yeah, of course I see it cast through this light. I hear him speaking this way. But he is teaching me, or the words in the scriptures teach me, just like every other teacher from different realms and aspects when I see this happening. Focusing on the same focal point, center point. We see the same truths. we're talking about the same thing here, even though we're using different language to describe it. And so that is the power of truth, right? So that's what I'm seeking, what I'm pointing out, what I will be talking about. And yeah, so moving into chapter 6. Although I have really covered 6 and 7 preliminary when I started talking about, well, preliminary doesn't really work. Whatever. Sorry for the wrong word usage there. But beforehand, in my sort of preliminary episodes, that I was airing out my concerns about doing this at all. I wasn't even thinking about putting these forth, in the first place, because it's just out of character, not out of character, but it's just out of my realm of natural affinities and studies and interests. It's something that I would be, stepping off of the sort of established mentor peer sort of feeling like I have a good head on my shoulders opinion about some things, and then turning into something where I'm completely new and I would, be kind of blindly going into it, unprepared, even. So it's a different standpoint and uncomfortability for me than I'm not used to. But here we are. Anyways. And so I'm just going to get into reading and stop giving my whole world, because, if you are interested, I give a little bit on each of these sessions. You can go back and listen to them and hear it all already, where I'm just kind of repeating myself to those who are kind enough to give me their ear each Sunday. So let's move into chapter 6 here. I'm already past 6 minutes in, almost 7 minutes in. So yeah, although I have kind of covered this content, some of the scripture lines in those episodes already, I'm going to just read here straight through and then have a little bit of commentary perhaps. So starting with chapter 6. Take heed that ye do not your alms before men, to be seen of them. Otherwise ye have no reward of your Father which is in heaven. This here struck me, and hence I did the whole episode kind of talking about the prompts and the reflection, the contemplation. I got a flip of the mirror here when I read these lines, and I said to myself, wow, especially me, where I share spiritual content. I like to talk about and to share and exchange ideas, teachings in that sort of area. That's one of my favorite areas. And it's because I feel as if I would be a spiritual person, all my life, even as a child, I felt sort of more deeper connection to everything. And I'd always be, told, oh, you don't have to take it that deep, or, oh, it doesn't mean that much, And I always felt deeply connected to nature and had a lot of sort of magical, I had a very magical experiences as a child, which led me to do a lot of writing and, writing these ideas and dreams and, whether they're daydreams or overactive imagination, was all these things I was totally told, in my young years. And I was grateful. I was blessed enough to have a wonderful outside area that I grew up in, with a wooded area that I could really play in and was left alone to my own devices, sort of, to really explore and discover. And that really is enabled and nurtured, I feel, created and fostered this wonderful foundation that even as an adult, I still want. I know it's there. And I see it, sprinkles, glittering, glistening pieces of it in these traditions, in people's rituals and routines, in these ancient, passed down beliefs and all the wonderful things that come along with that. There's truth in it, just like in these words that I hear in the New Testament and Jesus and the Gospels. The truth in there, it's still there, and you can feel it and sense it. So, hence why I have always sort of had this quiet communion, and it's always been a secret thing. It's wonderful because even in the Celts and in sort of the fairies and sort of Wiccan magic and all those kind of stories and fairy tales and things like that I grew up upon, there's kind of this clause with the fairies, you don't speak about the gifts they give you, or if you brag about them they get taken away, or like leprechaun gold disappearing, and all these kinds of there's always this ethical morality, an undertone in intermingling with them, or about offending them. And I think the offending of the gods and that kind of gotten really manipulated and twisted behind the back, on purpose with a negative agenda, so that they can force their directionality upon the whole. But let's not get sidetracked. The point is that quiet conversation, that thing that only you know, yet it's been confirmed by that deep knowing and external organic out there, the third party reality out there. Something impresses upon you that it's confirming, it's a validation, and it's those things that they're intangible and unspeakable, that those are, I believe, what we should follow and what we're trying to create. And that you don't do those things to tell someone else about them. You don't receive those blessings, you don't receive a gift to brag in the face of another about it, or to not even brag, but just to share, just to speak about it sometimes would be enough to taint the magic, or pop the bubble of it all. Sort of. So when I read these words, I was like, wow, this is, I get that. Because when you do these things to be seen of them, when you do it just to be seen, there's no magic in it. And because the magical intention is something that's untangible, it's unrelayable, and it's this inner confirmation that shines from inside out, it's very easily faked. Unfortunately, that's a mechanism of what we're learning through, what the growth is here, I think, and sort of what the power of choice is all about. You have the choice to bend the light or not. Or we are bending the light, but you have the choice as to what direction, polarity you seek to bend yours in, and for what reasons, and that is the power that creates the momentum, and it's, very powerful. And so Jesus teaches to take heed that ye do not your alms before men to be seen of them, right? Because otherwise you can't reap the rewards of it. It's the wrong way to do service, and your Father in heaven won't reward you, right? I love to see in how to take the interpretation of the Father in heaven as being the organic instructions, the original intention of the way something's meant to work and flow, the best overall outcome, seeing the infinite potentiality out there as God the Father does, every choice point option, and then knowing highlighted that best path through, most profitable, most beneficial, highest for all median route that is the most harmonious and balanced point, knowing that one and trying to guide us through that one, 2 hours. Because each of ours is a unique one that brings that to it, makes the overall whole, and yet we have to each play our part. We have to each know ours and follow it uniquely. And of course, I see as our Father in heaven as sort of the infinite intelligence, the great ether, the great plan, the oversight before and after that we can't comprehend even. It's so much different. It's like a single cell trying to comprehend what the life of Allie is all about. We can't even get in there to try to get out there. And yet we are, and we are the same, and it's so beautiful. It's supposed to be a magic conundrum. It's a paradox. It's a joke and a mystery. And if we would just laugh with it and at it all together now, as the Father does, to know it's all safe and sound, at the end, we'd have a better time. And we really wouldn't be worried so much about doing things to be seen, because we'd understand that it's incorrectness. Actually, it's detrimental to our service and our spirit to do it in that way. We wouldn't be doing that. Therefore, when thou dost thine alms, Do not sound a trumpet before thee, as the hypocrites do in the synagogues and in the streets, that they may have the glory of men. Verily, I say unto you, they have their reward. And they do. Negative service serves itself negatively, and you end up with rotten trash. You end up, falling apart or seeking always more. Anyways, verse 3. But when thou doest alms, let not thy left hand know what thy right hand doth, that thine alms may be in secret, and thy Father which seeth in secret himself shall reward thee openly. Service retribution. I like your external service offered out there freely with, it comes back in ways that you can't even explain because it happens, openly out there in the external. And it comes to you sort of in this very obvious way. I love that. And when thou prayest, thou shalt not be as the hypocrites are, for they love to pray standing in the synagogues and in the corners of the streets, that they may be seen of men. Verily I say unto you, they have their reward. And they do, for they are seen. And when you just do service to seek to be seen for likes, for instant gratification, for the sort of ego pump up that it is, the social credit, the influence, whatever, to go viral, to find all those that are like you, that that's what you get. You get a bunch of, yes men. You go viral, you get a one hit, you get that little dopamine thing. But guess what? It'll fade and you'll need the next one, and it'll need to be better than the last. You'll need more. That 1,000 followers will need to be 10K. That 10K will need 100K. The 100K, million. And then I need 1 million views on every video, It's unbelievable, the wanting of moreness, the creation, the following, the keeping up with, to be seen. I spoke on a whole episode of this, so I'm gonna keep going and try to get through more. Here we're only at 17 minutes, so maybe I could do less than 10 minutes or so reading what we'll get through. But I did speak a lot about this subject already on that direct episode, because it is just so prominent to today's world, and also to my channel, and the way that it makes me and helps me, allows me to turn the mirror at myself and ask myself, what am I sharing this for, and why? And what kind of content do I share, and when? And what are my teachings versus what am I learning? And am I giving myself space to be the learner, to say my own prayers in privacy and receive my gifts, live my spiritual life in privacy is the way that's done, should be done, and paying myself homage, paying God homage in that way, correctly, and privately, and learning what I need to, integrating it porously, learning through osmosis, testing it in my direct life, stumbling through things, and then when I feel I have sort of something to gather and gain to pass on, then passing things on, then sharing, and creating a boundary for myself that is a correct place of when I do share, when I do things to be seen. What is it, and when, and why? This teaching, I started reading this back in the summertime in June, July, and I had to really, and I took so much time pausing, days, weeks, hours, sit back, wow, oh my gosh, and then come back later and journal, and it brought so many epiphanies to me, And like I said, at first I didn't even think I was going to share these things. I thought I was, but I've been really called to just start sharing it, so that's what I'm doing. But like I said, I'm working to share at the proper times, at the proper content, and really hoping to honor that privacy and encourage others to seek that great privacy in the steady practices, in the small ways, in the commonality. We all do it the same each day, and yet it's private, it's personal, it's your alone time. And only you know if you're giving it to yourself, and only you can work the benefits of it when you do it for yourself. And it shines through, just like I was saying before. So let's get back to the direct verses, right? Into verse number 6. But thou, when thou prayest, enter into thy closet, and when thou hast shut thy door, pray in secret, and thy Father which seeth in secret shall reward thee openly. I love that. I loved those lines. I'd never heard that. The Father which seeth in secret. I had never read that. And it's probably just this little pocket Gideon's. I get a little old school one I found, I for free bumped into. It has everything that comes into my life usually, right? Love to live that way. I loved those words. I love the way to see it like that. And then I thought to myself, oh, The Secret, that movie, that jazzed up, was the early 2000s kind of thing, mainstreamy thing, popular culture. Another one of my new favorite terms, or words. But yeah, how great to try to teach intention, service intention, inner organic balancing and alchemy of the whole torpedo vortex system that we are, energetic beings are. All our projects and things, of course, refer to as well. But to learn as the self first gives you great handling to then use it in other external ways. But yeah, the inner voice, the secret, the inside there, the systems of yourself, and all those secret conversations you create within yourself. I heard such a harmonic balance between that, and such a guidance by God and by great organic infinite intelligence, that have led me to those inner knowings in my own meditations and things I've created with the Tower series and worked through with the System series in the last couple of years. It's like, wow. I have such wonderful, such a different version of validations and parallel teachings, exposure to different ways to explain the same thing. I love it. And I love the next here in 7. But when ye pray, use not vain repetitions, as the heathen do. For they think that they shall be heard for their much speaking. And this, I had to close the book and laugh at this when I read this for the first time. I really remember sitting, and it was beautiful and sunny, and I was on the front lawn that day. Because this, to me, I immediately saw the meme that I made in the teachings about sort of the math joke and the great magic in numbers that I was sort of gifted and talked about within the System series, and made memes about afterwards and stuff about 1 + 1 = 3, and how that's organic creation. That is the magic moment of conception. That 1 + 1 = 3 arithmetic is the secret math. It's a math joke. It's the joke of the creator. It's the initial spark that needs to happen, the birthing. And I love to see the birth of the whole thing, the Big Bang, the birth of this experience as the joke. The books of Law of One, of Ra, those books explain it as the joke of the creator. And when I ever read that for the first time, I cried laughing. That broke my world apart. Of the tragic comedy of it all. And I could still laugh crying. Oh, thinking of it, what have we done? To not know the exploration of manyness, of infinity, trying to define itself into definite pieces, trying to seek the end of fractal repetitions. Oh, goodness. And here, I saw the words and the teachings of a different way. But The 1 plus 1 equals 3 is the magic. It explains how newness is created through infinite intelligence, and also how it's a joke, and how you have to get it to get it, and you have to get it to be a creator. You have to be consciously aware of it. Now, the sort of repetition creation and the way that the inorganic has hijacked it is, and they use it to their benefit. It's not like it's hard. It's difficult to explain, but it's 1 plus 1 plus 1 equals 3. And the inorganic overlay, the matrix overlay, they use this as a hijack to manipulate the organic matrix and to manipulate all the beings of life, conscious creators within it, in the puppet show, basically. But 1 plus 1 plus 1, all the quantities come together for 3. But that's repetition. And it's emptyless copying. It's face value, superficial copying. It lacks that luster. It lacks depth. It lacks the heart of the artist, the blood, sweat, and tears that went into the painting. It's the snapshot copy. Yeah, it's the same, but Monet didn't put that brush on that canvas. It is not the same. And it's, so there's a conceptual comparison that happens, and the mystery is gone out of that. 1 plus 1 plus 1 is 3. This is the scientific mathematical description, the penguin parrot back of, we know exactly what happened here at the moment of conception because we've watched it and we've broken all, whatever. I'm not going to get into this. This is crazy. Sorry, people. Thank you for listening. But this is what we try to explain away with descriptions and black and white describings as to the magic of what's really happening. Why can't we just say it's magic and go with it? No, we have to pick it apart and dissect it and break it into, it has to be 1 plus 1 plus 1 is coming together as 3, because that's the only way that this 1 can come together into the quantity of 3 afterwards. Trying to see it as 1 car plus 1 car plus 1 car, and then seeing the group as 3 cars, quantity of 3. Instead of seeing it as conceptually as 1 human male plus 1 human female equals, 3 humans as the baby when it's born. But the concept's the family unit. The concept is the baby born. The concept is the egg meets the sperm and a birth of a new human being is created. A whole new point in reality is open and available for full discovery of what it can and could be, what has been impressed upon it for it to become now. And both those creators impress upon that as to what it would become. It's a great right and responsibility, and also it's a moment of co-creation, because male and female can't just totally say that, it's just us in there that come together at that moment. Because if that was true, every person coming together make a baby every single time. No, the breath of God, the life, the spark, whatever it is, we don't even know what it is. It has to be there. Ding. All the things have to align, come together in just the right way, at just the right flow. The breath of God has to come through. The flow of the Spirit has to be there, aligning at just the right times for it to happen. It's much more than just 1 and 1 and 1, and then we have 3. And when we leave open that 0 placeholder, now I'm getting numerology speaking, sorry for this, but when we leave open the space for God to make his impression on all things, that truly for me is the greatest teaching, and it's the magic. It's what Jesus is teaching here too. Or what he's trying to explain, I think, by saying, do it not in vain repetitions, right? What is it to do something in vain repetitions? It lacks the luster. It lacks that spiritual connection. For they think that they shall be heard for much speaking. This is another thing too, like when we say something so many times, it just gets believed. You know, it makes me think of that old saying. I forget if it was like Napoleon or Hitler. I forget which like big bad guy they've attributed this great quote to. But it's like if you repeat a lie enough, it becomes the truth. And it's that's how brainwashing works, right? And the other thing I'll touch on here, to just, well, we're at 30 minutes. Maybe I wish to touch on the word heathens very quickly, but perhaps I will leave that for another time. It's brought up quite often anyways. I'll leave it as a cliffhanger. If anyone has input on that and would like to comment on it, I'd love to hear it. I'm sure it's a general kind of, you know, I know a mainstream version of the explanations, of course, but individual interpretations are always welcome, of course, is just what I'm saying. But yeah, I guess we'll leave it there for now, for today. Thank you so much for joining me here on beautiful Sunday. I hope you've enjoyed yours and will continue to. And I hope you'll continue to return and listen to my Bible studies. Love to hear anybody's replies or comments. As always, leave them for others to see or send them to me via email. My email's in the descriptions. And I'll see you next time.